Okay, ask question. Okay, Ngam. Ask a question.
The way Madam said that to solve statelessness, go back to the first act, which is the Child Act, isn't it? Which is like easy solved. But is there a time limit to found the child? For example, if this child is 16 years old, is it still they use that act?
Oh, as long as below 18 years old, because the age of majority is 18. So.
That means it's the way you say it's such an easy solve for this act actually if we practice that act, isn't it? Like I will go to the Filipino market, I found this child, we just say, oh we should give her her rights of documentation, isn't it?
How did you end up finding the child? Abandoned? Refugee? It must be an abandoned child, right? But you cannot go to the marketplace and say, I want that child. If the child has parents, it's the parents that give the consent to the adoption. But what do you mean?
I'm looking at how people will misuse the Child's Act and just claim that this is what I found, and then let's give her a documentation. That's why I'm looking at that sense.
But then the welfare officer will not be that dumb, isn't it? Because they have to lodge a police report that this child was found lurking around in Gaya Street, crying, a little child, 3 years old. But usually, the first thing is they lodge a police report. The child has been found in Gaya Street, come and pick up the child. But maybe the parents was also careless, shopping in Gaya Street, forgot about the 3-year-old. And then crying maybe, but could never, it can happen. But they usually they lodge a police report, go to the welfare department, they will put a newspaper, in the newspaper a child had been found. But if nobody come and claim the child, or maybe that person don't even know that it was in the paper, if she has some brain, she would lodge a police report, right? That she was too busy shopping, looking for the basket car. She forgot the little child. And the mother can be charged for being careless. Why do you go around shopping in Gaya Street and leaving a 3-year-old? She could be charged, anyway, in my experience, if they are abandoned children, there are certain association that would have the capacity to look after abandoned children. So, Good Shepherd Sisters, the Good Shepherd Sisters, they specialize in abandoned children. So most of the cases that I have dealt with come from the Good Shepherd Sisters. Either they were surrendered to them, or somebody found this child abandoned, and they either give to the Kabajikan, to the welfare department, or to the convent, to the Good Shepherd. They have the convent. But if they are surrendered to the welfare department, they would send them to the house. One is in Inanam, one is in Papar. I know that because my brother was the director.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
We proceed further on with the question and answer. Ladies and gentlemen, if you have any question, please raise your hand.
Okay. Anne, Amy, maybe. So the thing that was going through my mind constantly in your presentations, congratulations, by the way, on your resilience and patience in the obvious bigotry and stupidity in some arms of government. And that precedes my question, which is where do you sense those 5 malevolent things coming from? It must come from a person or a small group of people. What is your sense on the origin of these things?
Speak into this one. Okay, so what we after conversations with a few people, what we feel is because the government had to give that extra rights to mothers to be able to confer citizenship, right? So they lost, no? Because they appealed. Actually, the government appealed, but they lost again, right, Amy? So we think they're being sore losers, and because they had to give some rights, they want to take away some rights as well. And because our registration is under the Home Ministry, so citizenship has always been securitized. In comparison to Philippines, where I was recently last week, their registration is under the PSA, which is the Statistics Department. So they look at it as a statistical issue, while our country look at it as a security issue because it's under the Home Ministry. And further to that, a lot of the feeling is that we're not going to be successful because it is under Home Ministry and it's the most powerful ministry in Malaysia. Yeah, so what we're getting is we're not on the winning end, but we're still trying our best. Because even when we were talking to people, the member of parliament such as Nurul Izzah, and they were all like, they were actually quite supportive of the Home Minister. So yeah, so that's our. Yeah.
So what we should do is right now we all are getting info, even getting the data directly from the KDN, which is from federal. I don't think they know what's happening in Sabah. The best thing is to suggest to the government to get all the data, the whole population, Malaysians, stateless, whoever they are. Then from there you can actually get, can segregate who they really are.
Yeah.
Then with this data you can actually counter the federal. Okay?
Yeah.
When we have our finding, this is what we find.
Yeah.
Because you're relying on them, they don't know what it is happening in Sabah.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, that's the problem. We are data blind, so we don't have the data. So that's what actually they were trying to do with the kad warga asing, right? What they're trying to document. The problem is anytime we come up with certain things like that, the kad warga asing, which they actually wanted to, what the government is saying is they're using that as to get the data. Public pushback. They're like, oh, you're giving them IC. Then the government cannot proceed because the awareness or our trauma of the project IC. Anytime we talk about documentation, IC, but they're actually trying. So we're data blind. That's why I'm waiting for the data from the UN country team research that was done 2 years ago.
Don't be wrong. It's not just the problem of the whole population.
Yeah, the whole population. So we don't have that data. Yeah, so that's why. Even when we ask, that's why we also ask them for the data. KDN they don't have that data. So that's why we also cannot counter. But the thing is, they also cannot back up when we went to the Parliament Select Committee, we also asked them, where's your data? When you said that this is because of Sabah, so where's your data? They cannot give us also. The thing is, the conversation happened there only. But the majority of people, and there were only those members of parliaments who are in the Human Rights and the Child and Women Committee, but the rest of the parliaments didn't.
It's already recorded.
Yeah, so that's why the importance of raising awareness now. So that's why we want to talk to members of parliaments. Yeah.
I just want to ask, what is your progress, Dr. Elaine and Anne? Because it seems like you guys are venturing towards plantation. I'm actually a plantation. I think I'm one of the company that matriarchy rules, so I actually protect the girls a lot because you don't know in plantation it's really hardcore patriarchy.
Yeah.
So that's
True.
why actually I'm very interested. What have you found so far, and I want to see what can I contribute. Actually, what do you need? What kind of data and all this
What
stuff.
kind of data?
Yeah, because I work with plantation managers,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm actually one of the girls that were like, we iron fist
Yeah.
with this man, like.
ANAK, yeah, I mean actually ANAK, but I agree with you because I'm part of the committee that's pushing for sustainable palm oil for the state by 2025, right? So I agree with you. It's very male dominated. Women, it's very hard to talk. Even Pep, right? If she talks, people can just cut her off, and she's that vocal, right? So in the plantations, it's data-wise, I'm not so sure data-wise, but then what I've been trying to tell plantations is to make sure that the children in the plantations get their legal documentation, whether it's with consulate, the Indonesian consulate or the Philippines embassy. Just make sure that children all get legally documented so that a country is responsible towards them.
Because what I'm trying to do is to actually upgrade all the plantation.
Yeah.
It's our unit, meaning that we document ourselves, then we produce something for you guys, something like that.
Yeah. If
But an outsider cannot penetrate because
Yeah.
it is a patriarchy.
yeah.
And there's a certain rules that you must ethics kind of like.
I need to learn from you. But I think if we have data of children in plantations, Catherine works in the plantations as well, Dr. Catherine. But if actually we have data of children in plantations, that would also be good data, like how many children there are in plantations, what nationality. Because when I went to the plantations, I see that actually the Indonesian children are better documented. The Filipino ones, yeah, because there are two consulates here, Tawau and Kota Kinabalu. Philippines, there's no consulate because of the Sabah claim. Therefore, access to legal civil registration is very low. So what we're trying to tell the Philippines embassy is to make sure to do the birth registration missions. So recently, I was in Philippines also. There was an organization that does civil registration in the Philippines, and they've documented a lot of ex-combatants in the Philippines, all that. So they do civil registration. So I'm also trying to see how we can work with them to actually do birth registration for Filipino children here. So at least when they are legally documented, then it is easier for them to claim citizenship in their home country, their parents' home country. And there's a country that is supposed to be responsible for their education, their healthcare, and all that. So we are trying to make sure that every child's birth registration is registered at birth so that they don't become stateless. Yeah.
In palm oil, the hospitals are very efficient actually all the things. They really take good care of them. You're talking about statelessness, illegals, anything, they will actually take them in. They help a lot actually. It's just that it's just not unified, but the hospital does a very good job.
Yeah.
The only issue you will have, they will easily change name.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, they
Means
do.
that today I'm Amina, tomorrow I'm Siti.
Yeah.
It happens. So,
Yeah.
but the same face.
Yeah.
So each plantation they go, that
Yeah.
is our issue. If
Yeah.
you don't standardize, you don't regulate, you can't track them.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Maybe we can keep in contact. Don't know if Dr. Catherine wants to add anything.
From my experience, long time ago, plantations only allowed to employ men. So no family was allowed to come in inverted commas at that time. The families came, or the guys married again to a local. But I noticed that the last 4 or 5 years, plantations give women are applying to get documentation for women. And some of my teachers who are undocumented have got documentation already. So I think there's a big change in plantations where the attitude towards documentation of their workers is getting done. It takes a long time, but it is getting done.
Yeah.
My concern is the non-plantation families who will not, I mentioned this at the last time I talked to them, they won't apply for documentation. They won't answer a census because of fear that their data, their family data, their location, their phone numbers, etc., will be recorded by immigration and they'll be caught. This is a very real situation. I think the situation on plantation for workers has improved greatly because of the MSPO, RSPO requirements. So
Yeah.
I'm quite proud actually of the plantations I work on. I get in
Yeah.
plantation.
Yeah.
The children, no. But at least on the plantation they're safe and they all have
Yeah.
to go to school.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And actually, in the plantation, it was the first. Because of the plantations, that was the first few legalized alternative learning centers. So, like Humana, and also the Indonesian government, they also have learning centers. But outside the plantations, but because plantations are like they're very much tied to the certification requirements, which is international, so they have to have their things in place. But outside, and also I think one thing is plantation, they're safe. But then in your legal identity, I mean, outside the plantation, you're not that safe. And also the bigger companies, yes, it's better, but when you have the mid-size, smallholders, the situation is not as great. Yeah.
I have a question for Elaine. Just wondering, what is UNICEF doing for, stateless children in Sabah in terms of access to education?
Okay, just to answer that, we have decided to consolidate our efforts with the UN country team. So the Resident Coordinator's Office is actually now looking at the statelessness issue broken down into 5 different areas. So it's like education will be with UNICEF, health will be WHO, rights will be with UNHCR, you know what I mean? So it is actually a UNCT effort, not just UNICEF per se. We will only be involved in the education part. Yeah. That's right, it's above me. It's under the Regional Coordinator's Office, and I think they just met the TYT and Chief Minister in December. Our resident coordinator came, so I think it will take at least this quarter to make plans, if you know what I mean. They've just met with the senior state officers, and then now getting their go ahead, because it's very important. UN can't just work here as we wish. So it's getting federal support, which is given, but then we need state sort of clearance.
Since there are so many NGOs who seem to give education in Sabah, even overseas here, so many missions come here, how to help them to get legalized license so that they are not being harassed by the immigration authorities and how that means they are already doing something here, already 10 years already. But how to legalize them?
Yeah. I think, Dr. Catherine, you can correct me if I'm wrong. You want to do it? I want to pass that to you.
I think the first group is the person who running this. Are they illegal first? Are they the ones being charged to
The thing is, there is, according to Education Department, there is a process. But the process is you have to have a proper building, you have a BOMBA certified, you have to have qualified teachers, and everything. Like the thing is, our learning centers, it's done in any, like if you see some of the learning centers, it's just some pondok, like whatever that they can have, and whatever volunteers that they can have, they are the ones who run the learning centers. So it doesn't comply with the Education Department's requirement. So that's why the ask, I don't know, okay, maybe I'll pass to Dr. Catherine after this. So that's why I will ask to the government, the Education Department, is you need to lower down your requirements to fit the context of the learning centers, but which hasn't been they haven't been doing that. I think I better pass to Dr. Catherine. She's running a learning center, so.
We should lower the standards, but I think there must be a category.
Oh, okay.
For children who are undocumented.
Oh, okay.
Beings that need an education. They have to have a right to education. So in the education department won't give us any help, and they don't.
Yeah.
That's very clear. I've talked about this before. Just do it. You just have to do it. These ladies here are all my teachers.
Yes.
These guys here have been working for years teaching undocumented children. They're nations. They're local. But they are determined to help these kids have access to education, right? So, yes, the education department theoretically should give us some kind of document. Never in the school life will they give us.
Because I was explore to some of the sectors as well. I also have some visitation to the site and how the teacher conduct. They even go extra mile to go to the kampung, the illegal kampung. A single lady, I cannot imagine that. A Sabah lady, and then she is so young and pretty, and she dare to go into the kampung alone to teach the undocumented. It's an undocumented kampung, and then to teach the children there. So I was amazed by her braveness, and also like I said, actually they in their mind, right? They said as long as they teach somebody some basic moral and some basic living skill, so that they do not go and do any criminal case in future or go into prostitution or drugs being used as a drugs killer or whatever agent to spread the criminal. But their thinking is like they want to reduce and to save Sabah, to protect Sabahan lah.
Yeah.
You educate the illegal immigrant, you actually protect your whole family. But
Yeah.
You see, I'm in awe of what you all are doing. So, but I have this very real situation where we are beginning to see more and more undocumented, stateless people falling in love with us local, but they cannot get married, but they're already pregnant, but cannot get married because they have no documents. So to get married, you need a document. So now there are lots of these children being born of undocumented mothers, but of Malaysian fathers.
Yeah.
So, and then when she gives birth, she will have this borang. And what you run inside? So, and then they're too scared to go to pendaftaran because they may get sent to Rumah Merah or somewhere else if they bring this form which has no kad pengenalan ibu, tiada, just nama, and that's it.
Yeah.
So how do you get more and more stateless children are being born every day?
Yeah.
This way, is there any way that you can help these babies?
Usually it has to come from the parents now. So the first step is still the parent. You cannot go automatically to the child, especially if the parent is undocumented. So usually you have to resolve the parent's issue first. So that's why I tell them, please register in the embassy. So if the parent has any form of linkage, like the parent has any proof of, like baptismal certificate from the Philippines or school certificates, or parents are still alive, that is already a form of proof that you are from that country. Then they can go and apply for citizenship in the Philippines embassy or the Indonesian consulate. But if it's generational, like generations of statelessness, then there's no way, because you cannot find any links to any country.
Yeah, so these I have 2 patients like this now, no links to anywhere.
Yeah, so that's...
That means their babies will never, so they
Yeah.
That's why I told them you shouldn't get pregnant until you solve this.
Yeah, the problem is it's unsolvable, because our citizenship laws, the pathway to naturalization is very, very blurred. We do have, like after 5 years you can apply for PR, but apply and getting it, I don't know if you know, like you've had any cases, doesn't happen. 20, 30 years.
You have no document to apply.
Yeah, so if you kosong, generational, if you're really stateless and kosong, then there's no way. You are stateless.
Suppose, okay, the husband's Malaysian, his mother wants to adopt this child. Cannot, this child has no document. How do you do that?
To my understanding, if you do adoption, the child needs to have a birth certificate.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's actually not clear cut.
The child has got
Yeah.
a document to say that he was born here by
Yeah.
this one and by
Yeah.
So how do you, so that means nobody can adopt this child too?
Amy, can you answer that? Adoption. Documents, yeah. Yeah.
For birth we can have, but the thing is, like the grandmother said, okay, is there a way I can adopt my son's child?
Actually,
Out of marriage child?
if there is a document, actually you can go through that process.
The document states the mother's name, but no father's name because they don't have marriage certificate.
Yeah, I think that has to be resolved through the court process, lah, kan?
All through court only, no?
Yeah. That's why it's not accessible for all. Court process is only for those who, yes.
So is the United Nations going to fund it?
Good question.
Because only lawyer can solve.
There's no ending. The more
So we need a lawyer to represent all the child.
We need a lawyer in our team. Maybe we can.
Then they can get pregnant, right?
But even a legal case is not clear cut, no? It's a few years of, yeah, yeah. So it's not as, yeah. Yeah.
Like generated that you don't have baby, you cannot have us, those things, right?
Yeah. You don't have rights, lah, Dr. Chong. You can, but JPN, it has to be requested by JPN. If you do the DNA test without, yeah. So it's also through a whole court process lah. So it's if you have money, and even the DNA test is a few thousand, like 1,000 something per person. Yeah. Yeah, it's desperation because that's why in Sabah we have a lot of syndicates giving fake documents that is thriving on people's desperation of having a legal identity. You see it in news. JPN officers were arrested. So even our working group on the right to identity in 2014-2015, we were actually working with UNHCR, a few UNHCR, UNICEF, Jennifer Lasimbang at that time. UNICEF, UNHCR, PACOS, I was with Good Shepherd then, Good Shepherd and a few organizations. We were actually working on this. And then one of the community-based organizations was using the name of the working group to sell documents. So it became a police case, and we had to disband immediately because they didn't want to affect the other members of the working group. So syndicates are also actually making this situation worse, because when I asked JPN, I said, why is it more complicated here compared to Peninsula? They were saying they have to be super careful here because there's a lot of fake documents going around, and these are syndicates that are getting rich, really rich, millions. Some of them posing as NGOs, giving all these fake protection documents or fake documents. So syndicates are also a big problem in Sabah. Yeah.
UNCT study. Okay, state government said they could not fund such a study. So UN country team, she mentioned, we did it. We did it for 2 years, the funding. But after that, it was found to be non-conclusive because they felt that the results wasn't very representative. So there has been an attempt, but because it's so difficult to get accurate figures, even going into the community, UN team felt that it was non-conclusive. So the data, Patricia, is very hard to collect. I think she was part of the team as well. Yeah. I think the researchers tried to do that. They did all around Sabah, but it is non-conclusive. Yeah. No, this was on the ground research around Sabah. Yeah, that's what I want to say. UN team did throughout Sabah, and we spent a lot of money, but it was non-conclusive because they were not answering correctly as well, and all sorts of things. So it's not easy to gather data. Actually, one data that I find quite good is when we had the COVID, and then a lot of people went for vaccination for COVID. So actually, the health department has some kind of data. Sorry? Yeah, they actually have some kind of data, and also during the polio, because they did a polio vaccination of all children. So actually the health department has some kind of data, but I think those data were also used by the UN country team, and they still found the data to be inconclusive. So, yeah. I want that data too, but then...
I think that we actually work, I would believe that I would work with certain groups of people that we know it's either intentional, work with them and see what happens. Once this information is passed around, you can see results, because that's how the local
to you, Patricia. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you to all